Don't you do it, don't you do it. Go, Eva. Go. Go. Get the fuck up here. Hey, what's good, Anthony? I hope all is well with your brother. Hey, cheers. How was your day, man? What's good, Dre? Cheers, brother. Same, bro. Sitting outside, it's beautiful, it's nice. Semi-quiet. Thinking about what I'm gonna do with that uh, greenhouse. Fixing some coffee. Hey, I understand that. I think I'm gonna run the greenhouse, bro. Fuck it. Damn, bro. I so wish I was away from everybody, bro. This one ain't been topped yet, and that's the skunk one too. Dude, I ain't even gonna lie, bro. She's boosting, bro. She's fucking thick stock, everything, bro. Soon enough, I need to take the legs off of this planter. Hell yeah. Shit, I got the clone hit up on the fucking trainers right now. That gas cream runts that I got from Judas. I got it hemmed up on clips. Also got this one right here too. Yeah, you can't really see it too well. Ah, hell yeah, bro. Oh, bro, come on now with all that shit. Little bro over here fucking dying, bro. Come here. My bad, bro. Hey, what's good, Mikey? Cheers, buddy. Oh. Did you try that?
I do not condone. Now, before I begin, understand that being good at soil will not automatically make you good at hydro. Hydro is more like being a mathematical bartender than a gardener. Your pH and TDS meters will be your best friend, and proper storage and frequent calibrations are absolutely necessary. You'll be mixing juices and responding to your pH and ppm readings to tell you what to do next. This medium requires daily feedings, and cleanliness is a requirement. Lastly, if you live in an environment that's over 90 degrees, you have to figure out a way to cool your water, and sometimes that's expensive. With that said, I'm going to teach you how to grow seeds. The first thing you need to set up is your tent. If you already have one set up, skip ahead to 313. Grow tents maximize light efficiency by reflecting light so it could be absorbed by your plant. Also, instead of controlling the humidity and temperature of an entire room, you limit it to the size of your tent. This improves energy efficiency, and it'll save you more on utility costs in the long run. Now, hydro plants start off really slow, but once their roots reach the water, the growth accelerates and they get really big, really fast. For every plant that you plan on growing, I recommend at least 4 square feet of space, and it's important to determine the light that you get based on the size of your tent. For lighting, you want at least 30 watts of full spectrum LED lighting for each square foot of tent space. For example, if you have a 3x3 tent, that's 9 square feet, which means you could only have 2 plants, and you'll also need at least 270 watts in lighting. For a 4x4 tent, you can have 4 plants, and you'll need at least 480 watts of lighting. You'll need an air filtration kit, which brings fresh air into your tent and filters smells coming out, and an oscillating fan to help circulate the air within the tent. Genetics is arguably the most important factor on growing quality buds. You want to pick a proven
hell yeah, Jerry.
strain. Unless you're breeding, always get feminized seeds, and there are 2 types.
Bro, I ain't doing shit, bro.
Autos and photoperiods. Hydro is a medium that has great results in both, but if you want the option to clone or to grow the largest plants possible, get photoperiods. The only difference in growing them is the light schedule, which is detailed on the cheat sheet. Once you get your seeds, germinate them. My preferred method uses rapid rooters and a seed starting tray. It'll take about 3 days for the seeds to germinate, and during this time, you want to mix your juice and set up your hydroponic system. Grab an empty gallon container and fill it up with clean water, but leave about a cup empty for nutrients. Simply follow the recipe on page 2 of this cheat sheet and mix these ingredients into the water in order from top to bottom. Make sure you mix this thoroughly between each nutrient, and once you're finished, store these juices in a cool, dark place. This juice was mathematically calculated to have the perfect balance of NPK, secondary, and trace elements, so I warn you, adding or removing anything will throw off the balance. The next step is to set up your hydroponic system. You'll need a standard 5-gallon bucket, which you could get at any hardware store, an air bubbler with air stones and tubing, a 6-inch net pot lid, and hydroton. The use of reverse osmosis water is recommended, but I'll show you how to calculate everything for tap water as well. This is a sterile medium, so make sure everything is clean before use. You want to rinse the fine sand and silt off your hydroton, but don't make the mistake of draining it into your sink or tub.
What you mean?
Fill your clean bucket up with 75% water, Then slowly add your juice while you're measuring your ppm until it hits the target listed on the chart. Keep in mind, this target is in addition to your starting water's ppm. For instance, if your tap water is 182 ppm, your target is really 182 plus 50, or 232 ppm. Instead of the 50 on the chart, you're adding juice until your meter reads 232. For a 5-gallon reservoir, this should be around 150 milliliters of juice, which is around 2/3 of a cup. In veg, I like to add a pinch of Epsom salt to the reservoir, and the last steps are to pH balance it and add about 8 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide to keep the water sterile. Now place your air stone or stones in the center of the bucket and make sure the air pot is placed at an elevation higher than the water. Some net pot lids will need to be cut to allow the air lines through. Setting up your net pots is done when your seeds sprout and show roots poking out of the bottom of your starter plugs. Ideally, you want to put your plants as far down in the pot so that the roots can reach the water as quick as possible. The problem is, you still need to fill this with hydroton, and placing it all the way on the bottom may end up completely burying the sproutling. I like to bury my sproutlings so that only an inch or two of the stem is above the hydroton. You don't want light hitting the plug because algae may start growing on it, so make sure enough hydroton is placed on top. Keep a mental note on where the bottom of your plug is, and be gentle because the hydroton could potentially crush your stems. Once your net pot is set up, place it on top of the bucket. For the first couple of weeks, you want to bring the water level up to be just an inch below the bottom of your starter plug. You do not want the starter plug to be submerged at all, and the idea is to let water bubbles pop and provide water to the hanging roots without oversaturating the plug. This will let the roots search for water and allow them to grow straight down. The next couple of weeks will be slow, and plants will likely look ugly as they transition into this hydroponic setting. You could add a humidity dome to help during this process, and you probably won't have to do anything in the first 2 weeks besides set your light. Once the majority of the roots hit the water, that's when you jump to week 3.
I love the smell of pine sol, bro.
Is outlined on this cheat sheet, which has clickable links that teach
I
you
love
how
the
to set
smell
the
of pine sol.
targets. If you go to page 2, you'll see the recipe for the top-off water on the bottom. Every morning, you want to add top-off water to bring the water level back to the bottom of the net pot. Let this water bubble for a couple of minutes, then measure the ppm with your TDS meter. This is called your current ppm. You want to bring this ppm back to the target levels listed on the chart. To do this, you could either pour juice into the reservoir slowly until it hits your target, or you could calculate how much you need to add. Just subtract your current ppm from your target ppm listed and multiply it by 3.5. This is how much milliliters of juice you'll need to add. Keep in mind, you'll be mixing in bloom and veg juice in the following percentages for the first 4 weeks of bloom. Eventually, at week 5, this will be 100% bloom juice. After the juice is added, again, wait a couple of minutes and retest your pH and ppm. You want to bring this level as close to the target ppm and pH as possible. I would highly suggest you actively recording your before and after pH and ppm readings because this will tell you the ideal time for swapping your reservoir. As time passes, Nutrients and particles that cannot be consumed build up in your reservoir and create dirty water. Knowing when to swap your reservoir is based on responding to pH and ppm abnormalities. When you notice your ppm barely going down, add your top off water, but skip adding any juice for the day and retest tomorrow. If your current ppm still isn't lower than 50 from your target, this is my cue to swap with Res. I always prepare a spare bucket to make it easier to swap. Cleanliness is key, so make sure you have a clean bucket if you want happy plants. Also, clean your air stones if you see gunk building up.
Bro.
Now, warning, this channel is for adults only. I do not condone any illegal activities, and everything I record is for educational purposes only. If you watch my hydro was a prepare a spare bucket to make it easier to swap. Cleanliness is key, so make sure
Mikey, watch this shit.
if you want happy plants. Also, clean your air stones if you
Look at that shit, bro. It's a complete fucking 5-gallon bucket of fucking roots, bro. You see that shit? Look, no fucking bullshit, bro. Watch.
building up. Now, the main pitfalls I see people encounter is root rot. The ideal temperature you get if you
Watch
want
this shit.
happy plants. Also, clean your air stones if you see gunk buildup.
That's fucking 5 gallons of fucking straight root, dude.
People encounter is root rot. The ideal temperature you want your reservoir to be is 68 degrees. With the aid of hydrogen peroxide, I find that going up to 75 degrees is still doable. Unfortunately, temperatures above 80 degrees will leave plants vulnerable to root rot, and in this case, you'll need to add a water chiller. Another issue with hydro is the difficulty in using a trellis. It becomes impossible to swap out a reservoir, and the best solution is to siphon water out by slightly elevating your bucket and use gravity. Flat tub, low to the floor. We're gonna stick this in and just try to push it all the way down so that you feel like it's on the bottom. You feel some resistance, you can see right there. And then now, you're just gonna suck this end, all right? And gravity is naturally gonna want the water to go down lower. So you need to kind of siphon it out, give it a little jump start. There you go. Now it's probably right near the air bubbler. That's why you see a lot of bubbles coming out. Alright. I'm just gonna let this run until I feel like this is enough. That's pretty much it. And remember, most of the words on this chart are clickable links to tutorials.
Hello, this is Manny from guys, my bonsai. Today we're going to be switching it up and I'm going to show you how to grow a big plant. We're going to set up a deep water culture hydroponic system. First thing we're going to do is germinate our seed. We're going to put that in a wet paper towel and let it sit there for a couple days. I like to make a little tent for it so it can breathe. And I put it in this cardboard box and I put it in a non-fluid place. A few days later, I have a seed sprout, put potato in the rock wool cube, and that will go in the clay balls in our DWC setup. I'll be using a 3x3 Mars Hydro tent. Here's the 5-gallon bucket, which is 18.9 liters. I'll be using Druid Nutrients for Canna 1 component. It's honestly the easiest nutrients I've ever used. You simply mix the nutrients into the water, and the water is pH balanced on its own. This is so much easier than mixing in 3 different nutrients and then having a pH balance it. I'm going to check that the pH is where I want it to be. I'm going to put it in there, let it sit until the numbers have stopped moving. And as you can see, I didn't have to adjust the pH. It's at 6.0. Next thing we're going to need is something to blow oxygen into the water, and we're going to use this small air pump. I only need 1 sandstone, so I'll be channeling the 2 outputs into this one and putting a sandstone on the end. I have the pump set up outside the tent to reduce noise. Next, we'll be putting on this special lid that will hold the clay balls. I'm going to fill the container with the clay balls and set in the rock wool seedling into it. So here we are. I'm going to add a little bit more clay balls to hold it in place. Right now, the water is bubbling to the bottom of the rock wool and it's hitting those roots. The rock wool is also soaked with water. So here's my setup. I have a carbon filter to help with smell. It's hooked up to a fan that's pulling air out of this tent and another tent set up outside the tent to reduce noise. I have a muffler set up on the end of the fan, and this is to help with noise. The fan has a dial so I can set the speed to faster or slower. This helps with temperature control. I also have a fan blowing air into the tent and a fan blowing air around. Here are my lights. They are the Mars Hydro SC3000s. Here we are after 2 days in the tent. Not much has changed. Here we are at the 4-day mark. Let's take a look. I think the root has touched down. Okay, so we have the root in the water. We are at day 9. And we have a lot more roots. As you can see, this happens really quick. The water evaporates a little bit, so you might have to top it off. Just mix some nutrients and fill the container. Here we are on day 14. As you can see, we have lots of roots, and the growth has really sped up. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. Next episode, we will be doing some defoliating when the plant gets bigger. We'll also be doing some lollipopping. Here are some of my bonsais that I also grow in the tent. If you like the music, it was produced by 44th Tree. Check them out, links in the description. Please follow me on Instagram. Hello, this is Matt.
What's good, Brody?
very early on that efficiency is not always about speed. Sometimes the best way to win a race is slow and steady. We want to produce all buds that look the same, smell the same, feel the same, and have the same amount of active components to a very narrow degree. The degree of standardization that we can achieve with this system is proof that we have discovered a way to control the total plant growth cycle. We've created a high-density, low-cost system.
That's good, Baker.
Which results in
I hope all is well,
98%
brother.
Success rate after 11 to 14 days.
Cheers, bro.
Goatsht2.0 is a multi-part process constructed around the core technology of aeroponics, but opportunistically using a wide variety of hydroponic techniques and advances in order to achieve the most optimized outcome possible.
What's up, everybody? You know, just when I thought it couldn't get any better, I built a true high-pressure aeroponic system that puts my other one to shame. I'm talking NASA-style growing, faster, more efficient, and straight up next level. Today I'm going to show you how to build it at home with a few parts. And trust me, it's a whole lot cheaper and easier than you think.
So this is an Aeroponics 101 course. I'm going to show you the right way to put together a simple aeroponics system. I see a lot of systems on the internet that use a water pump in an accumulator tank and then a solenoid. And they come out these little mister nozzles. It's things you can buy on Amazon. And the problem with that type of system is that the mister nozzles, the outlet is too small, so they get clogged frequently. Second, there is no oxygen introduced into the system, so the roots don't have oxygen. Third, the droplet particles are too big. You have to use an air compressor, and you have to use a special nozzle. Okay, so the type of nozzles, they have both an air input and a liquid input. So I'm going to show you how I put together this system. It's pretty simple. You got the air compressor down here. It fills the tank up to about 100 psi, and then there's a second regulator knob, and this is how much pressure you want coming out of the nozzles, and you have to figure that out by when the nozzles are on, the pressure drops, and so you adjust to the pressure that you want at each nozzle. For these nozzles, they require 45 psi, so because I'm using two, I got it up at 60. So once it's flowing, it drops down to 45, which is optimal. Okay, so you get the air compressor. You need special nozzles. So these are the nozzles that I have. I bought these from a company called Aeroscience, and they're based in Santa Rosa. And you can see here that there's an air input, and then this is the liquid input. And as the air is flowing through, it siphons, it pulls on this, and the liquid comes out and it mists. The droplet particles are really small. It almost looks like smoke. So you can see they're going right now. See this mist coming out the side of the box? You don't see that in misting nozzles. It's like fog, you know? So such fine particles. It looks like this. You don't get that with misting nozzles. That's what you want. And these droplets are about 5 to 50 microns. Here we can see my roots.
This dude's on
They're really
a
healthy.
whole different planet, bro.
And And I got this on a timing, 5 seconds every 5 minutes, and you can adjust that to what your plant's like. And I think that's about right. So the next part of this is the solenoid. So this is probably the toughest part of the whole thing. You have to buy one of these, and it just comes as this, like this plain thing. It's like $10, and you see these little tangs coming off of it. So what I did here is, this is a power strip for an old hard drive, and it happened to be that one of these wires was 12 volts. And so I'm using the negative, or the ground, and then the 12 volt. And I just connected those in there. This goes all the way to a controller. You can see that the strip is down here. It's I-Omega. And the controller is an Arduino. And you can actually see it through the box, so I'm not going to bother with opening it up. But the Arduino, to be able to use this Arduino with a power strip, or power, you know, any sort of electricity, you need to have this secondary module called a relay. So you then take the, you see, I cut this is kind of not the best way to do it, but I cut the power cable in 2 places, at the end and then once in the middle. So in the middle, the signal's interrupted because the relay is open. And in order for the signal to reach the end of the solenoid over there, you have to close the circuit. And that's what these relays do. And when you program this Arduino,
Bro, Cuz is on a different level with this
opening and closing as you program them. And as they close, then the circuit can flow through the rest of the cable. So then the end goes up there. So that's how it works. And it takes a little bit of fidgeting with to try to figure out exactly how it works. If any of you are struggling with this, let me know. But I recommend buying one of these modules. These 8 relay modules are pretty nice. Before I was working with like a single relay, so it came with this kit, and it was pretty complicated. You had to solder in a diode, and use a breadboard, and a transistor, a resistor. You had to follow this whole schematic. So all of that is already done inside of these little modules. So it's much more convenient to just buy one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You just have this solenoid talking to the relay, which is controlled by the microcontroller, which is an Arduino. In my case, it's this, knockoff Arduino called in a Lego. Okay, and then lastly, the drainage system. I have this crappy drainage system right now, but this is my drain, and I'm using. I started with misters, and until I learned that they weren't that good, and so I'm repurposing the water pump to drain my system. So I have that on a timer, and there's different ways to program this stuff. I'm using these wireless plugs that you can plug into, connect them to your phone, and set them to schedules, and that seems to work pretty well. So I have this thing draining once every 8 hours. Okay, so the next thing to think about are ingredients, or like the nutrients that you want to add into the system. And this is the most creative element of the process. To whatever you feed your plants, like these plants are literally that stuff. It's just that stuff. The seed just converted all this liquid that I bought from the store into that. And eventually it's going to be a tomato. I got some beans here and some chard. I'm really just experimenting at this point. At some point I'm going to scale up the system with a bigger light and a grow tent. But I'm just experimenting at this point. So the nutrients are, I think, the most important element of all of this. to figure out what you wanna feed your plants, and you really have to start doing some research into how plants work. I added these hydroponic liquids in there, and I'm using these salts at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue using those, but you want to get the salinity up to a certain point, and you can look that up. You know what kind of salinity does a tomato want, etc. And I'm also using something called biochar. It's like liquidated biochar, and I'm using it. This is a mixture of biochar and algae digestate, and that's supposed to promote microbial growth. And here you split into this two different philosophies of growing plants. Do you want a microbial environment? And microbial environments are beneficial in that they have all these trace micronutrients that we probably don't fully understand yet. So if you have like an extraordinarily healthy soil, your plants are going to taste delicious. But you know, if you're using just these 3 containers, you're not going to get a very sophisticated flavor profile. So the question is, how do you get the benefits of having a microbe-rich environment? How do you or how do you do it all in a sterile environment? Is there a way
Send it to the neighbor's house, huh?
All of these micronutrients that these microbes provide, and feed them into your plants, first sterilizing by killing all the microbes, or you know, and I haven't explored this yet, but can you just add microbes into your system without any soil? And I'm not so sure about this. It's something I have to further explore, but it's an interesting question. So if I add microbes in, will my system go anaerobic? So will the microbes become like negative bacterial and kill the plants? Or, you know, do I just keep on adding in live microbes? I'm not exactly sure how this works without soil. And I'm thinking that perhaps when using aeroponics, it might be optimal to not use microbes. This is something I have to explore, and I urge you to research.
He said, "Thank you, Mikey,"
and try to incorporate these micronutrients into your plants however you can, whether it's through biology or whether it's through chemicals. And so the reason why I'm using these salts here, this is called C90, and it's just dehydrated ocean water. In the ocean, you have the entire spectrum of the periodic table exists in the ocean in these trace minerals. So when you dehydrate ocean water, you have these trace minerals in salts. And so it might just be, though, that these trace minerals are there's so few of them that your plants can't really utilize them very well if it comes in the salt form. These this C90 product, a lot of the times is just administered to soil. So another way to take the advantages of the ocean and incorporating them into your system is by using brown kelp. So this is something that I'm thinking about, is buying brown kelp meal, and this stuff comes from Arcadia, north of Canada. And the ocean there is pretty clean, so and because there's not very many boats going in and out of that territory, it's also not in the Pacific where you have the problems with Fukushima irradiating the Pacific Ocean. But so using brown kelp, one way to maybe do it would be to take the brown kelp, put it into something like this, and brewing it, teaing it, steeping it, and trying to pull out all of these nutrients from the brown kelp, and getting the water nutrients from the brown kelp into a liquid form. You can also buy something called liquid kelp. You have to be very careful about like which one you choose on. You have to make sure that you're getting the benefits that you're looking for. So liquid kelp might work. I'm not sure. These are things you have to explore. But the ocean is a way that you can put into these trace minerals, these micronutrients into your system. And once you start thinking about this, you can get even deeper into it with soil. And at some point, I might be talking about vermicompost and soil and how you can get a lot of these benefits from vermicompost. We might be able to do something with vermicompost in making it inert. I still haven't tried this myself, but like a vermicompost extract. Vermicompost is compost made from worms, and depending on what the source is, like what were the worms composting, there are better and worse things for the worms to compost that are like for plants. You can have like really simple vermicomposts, and you can have very complex, rich vermicomposts. They're not all created equal. So that's another route, vermicompost teas. And you could probably incorporate those and make them inert by heating them up or something prior to using them without, it definitely won't damage your plants. The question is, are you receiving a lot of benefits? So these are just some initial tips, on how to get started and what a proper aeroponic system is, and what are some different routes that you can go in trying to raise some healthy plants in an automated system. So anyways, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk with any of you about this. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in.
This video is sponsored by Loverz. Extra secure.
What's good, Lethal? I hope all is well, bro.
Ooh, clean. This looks super nice. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this out of here. Bring it back when I get it out.
That's a bad motherfucker.
Well, that's out of the box. That was a little bit of a task, but it wasn't too bad. I got it set where I want. It's plugged in. It's all set up. And I couldn't be more impressed with it. I really, really like a couple of the features that it has. Let me turn it around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here, looking at it.
That motherfucker is badass, bro.
Beautiful glass front. Very sleek. It's kind of picking up a reflection, so the camera's wanting to mess around with it. It opens up beautifully. Has the magnetic strips, so it shuts really well. Oh, satisfying. Inside, there's 7 of these trays. I like these versus the other one that I was using. A lot more airflow can happen through these. Now this center one right here, if you notice, this one is screwed in. So if you want to remove this one,
Shit, go
you
live
need
on
to
that
remove
motherfucker.
two
Give me
screws
something to
on the
watch,
side.
bro.
This is for child safety right here, so a child can't climb into this thing. Not that you should have children around this thing anyways, for obvious reasons. Beautifully designed. Has a tray right here. Just pull this tray out. This is where you put water if you need it. If the humidity is low where you are, you might want to stick some water in here. They recommend purified water. Beautiful. It's already cooled down. It's been on maybe 10 minutes. Let's give it a little, there we go. Let's turn on the light. Beautiful. Now, here's an awesome feature. If you hit this, puts up a screen. Fogs the glass up, makes it to where you can't see the product on the inside. I love that. Gives kind of a little stealthy feature, and then when you turn the light off, you really can't see anything. Besides the reflection on my tent and bullshit. I love it. Let's see what it looks like with the light on in here. Oh, look at that. That's a thing of beauty. Lights on both sides. There's also a hanging rod that runs back here. If you want to hang your plant as a whole, if you can fit it in here, or branch by branch, there is a rod back there. You can put some S-hooks back there from Sun and hang the whole entire plant, or branch by branch. Really excited to use this. Now that we have this ready to go, let's go ahead and use it for what they sent it for. We've got 3 ladies that have been waiting to get cut down for about a week now. They should have been cut down about 10 days ago. Today is day 105 of these ladies right here in this Sun 3x3. Let's take a look. They've been in about 48 hours of darkness in anticipation of receiving this V-Cure. Go ahead and turn these lights out so you can see. Turn it on.
That man got some flowers, bro.
Ridiculous. These should have been cut down about 10 days ago. We were waiting on that V-Cure for a little bit. Had a little bit of a back order. Had a little issue happen, but they finally got it to me. And just in time, so. Holy. Look at some of these ladies here. We've got full necrosis going on of the leaves. That's dying off of the leaves. We still have some fading going on. Beautiful. This faded out perfect. Awesome. And we have a whole section of it that has just leaned over from the girth of these buds. Oh, amazing. This front one right here should have been chopped probably 2 weeks ago, to be honest. This one about 10 days ago, and I probably should have cut this one about a week ago. I wanted all of these to fade out. This one faded out first. This one faded out behind, but once it faded very, very quick. If you do remember, this is an autoflower experiment. We are growing in 3 different size pots. We are growing in a 1 gallon fabric pot, a 3 gallon fabric pot, as well as a 5 gallon fabric pot. And yes, there is a significant difference in size of the plant. I guess the statement is true. The bigger the roots, the bigger the fruits, because clear evidence right here. These are all the same exact strain, which these are key lime pie. And I gotta say, there's not really much difference in the flower structure or plant structure that would significantly say these are way different phenos than one another. They're very, very similar in all of that aspect. They're very, very similar in terpene as well as the aroma and wow, the bud structure, the color, the way they faded, everything. It all looks very similar. So I can't really say that there's anything other than results from the size of the pot, which this is what we wanted, and couldn't be happier with the results. Like I said, this is 3 plants. I did start out with 4, however, 1 did not make it. If you want a recap of all of the stuff that we've been through with these, you can go check out the previous videos in this series right here. We started out with a different strain, however, that strain did not work out, so we jumped over to the key lime pie, and it worked out. Don't know how this is going to be.
All right,
I've
hey,
not tried it.
y'all stay
Smells
smooth,
great,
man.
but I like the results. It's always interesting